is not an acceptable answer in the sense that it is not an irresponsible research practice. But it is not. See where it is? Working on something already done.
Yeah.
It's here. It's not irresponsible. Are you listening to me, Mr.
Yes, yes.
Davdov? Yes? Okay.
Because, I mean,
Good.
You just repeat my point, so I...
Okay.
He's in agreement.
He's in agreement with me. Okay. The pink group. Okay? All right. Let's go to the second one. Okay. Describe one way in which research misconduct can be prevented or reduced. All right? So, calibrating all instruments?
3.
3? Is it a general agreement? Okay, good.
Yes.
Using software to detect plagiarism?
3.
3? Do you guys use it? Do you use software?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yeah? No, it's widespread, huh? Okay.
But
Yes, but what? But.
not all software to detect plagiarism detects plagiarism. It detects repeated text,
Yes, that's true.
which may be plagiarism or may not be plagiarism. And the question still requires judgment on the part of the person who is looking at it
Yeah. And who programs the software?
and who programs the software, because some phrases that have nothing to do with the science may show up the same in many places. So
Just to keep that in mind. The last piece about, preventing misconduct across the country, widely publishing all scientific reports. What do you think? 2.
3.
3? 2? 3. So you all think that this is an acceptable way to prevent misconduct, to widely publish all scientific reports? It's 2. It's an intermediate way. Okay? My scoring sheet says that this is an unacceptable answer. Now, my scoring sheet, I didn't write these things. Jenna gave them to me. She taught me how to do this lecture. She says that this is not an acceptable answer.
Jenna says this.
Jenna, and when she created this, that saying that you will publish all scientific reports is not something that's possible really to do on a country level. And therefore, you can't really say that you are going to prevent the misconduct because you can't really assure that all the reports will be published. And what does it mean to publish all scientific reports? What exactly? Are they, abstracts of theses? Is it reports in peer-reviewed journals? Is it reports that are written where? What does it mean, scientific reports to be published? This is what the gist is. So if you start thinking about it, how are you going to actually ensure that what you say you do is something that can be really done? And you have different ideas and opinions? So this is an answer you get on the answer. It doesn't. You don't have to agree, or doesn't mean I would write this answer. But somebody writes this answer. Widely, so publishing all scientific reports from all the scientists in my country.
The words are different, though. The words are...
Widely publishing all scientific reports. That's what the word
I think
said.
it'd be hard to publish all the reports, everything.
Right. So, and then, yes.
But
Yes.
this effort may have a meaning to increase the awareness of the public about the process, nature, and...
But what is the question? The question is, describe one way in which research misconduct can be prevented or reduced. The public doesn't do research misconduct. We're talking about reducing or preventing research misconduct. That's the question. And to that question, somebody says, widely publishing all scientific reports.
You're right.
This is now the reason that this is important. I have the same problem as you do. For me, it's not intuitive. But it is about being accurate about an answer, because this is a tool to tell us that the question is written well, or it is clear. See what I mean? This is not a good answer because maybe the question is not well written. okay? It doesn't mean that it is practically a good thing to do or a bad, nothing to do with that. Is it, and why is an answer not appropriate? Maybe it is because the person doesn't know, okay? But maybe it is because the question does not get across what I think it does.
Yeah, I think, for the previous, the first question that we discussed, whether it's appropriate.
Which one, the two examples?
The classmate is working on the same project.
Yes,
I think here, in that situation,
Yes.
exclusivity makes it inappropriate.
Okay.
And here, the inclusivity makes it inappropriate.
okay, this is,
Yeah.
so this is how Hakan thinks about approaching these answers, okay? So when he creates his assessments, that's the way he will write the question, that's the way he will populate the number of possible answers, and then he will validate them with his colleagues, with other people, who will do this kind of thing and say, well, this answer, what does this answer mean? Does it mean anything? This is how we know, we can find out whether these assessment questions are meaningful. And we change them, we adjust them, we take them away, whatever. Yes?
I was going to say, this answer is non-specific, but what you could, and maybe in the person's mind in answering it is,
Yes.
if everything is published and widely published,
Yes.
if somebody is fabricated
Yeah.
and somebody is doing something else, that will eventually sort of show up because there will be discrepancies.
Yes.
And so in the general mix, the things will come out, so
Yes.
things will be identified. So widely publishing, if you're able to widely publish everything, you may end up
Absolutely.
identifying these particular
Absolutely.
problems.
Absolutely.
So,
Yes.
I think it's a debatable point.
Yes, exactly. It's a debatable point.
But
Right.
it argues for specificity in the question.
Yes.
That's what-
And as with this group, where people are writing in English when they may not have been speaking English for a little while, or it's different languages that people are thinking in being written in English, in a short period of time, you get short phrases that may not tell you everything that's in there. And at the end, unfortunately, at the end of a program, when we're doing an evaluation, and it's the last thing you do before you leave, many people will just and turn it in, and you may not have anything more meaningful at the end than you do at the beginning, and that's where you're supposed to show improvement. You, the program, are supposed to show improvement. You may not show improvement because people are in a hurry to do the assessment. In both cases, there needs to be time, whatever language people are accustomed to writing in, for them to be able to write a sentence that says something. Because most people aren't thinking about writing clearly when they're writing an assessment, when they're answering pre and post surveys. They just want to put something down. And that means we have to interpret. And you can either interpret with a critical eye or interpret with a warm and generous spirit, but you need to be consistent, whichever way it is. So I heard the widely publishing as, oh, the paper is already going to be published. This is my interpretation. It's already going to be published. We should have open access publishing so that, as Alistair said, everyone can read it and assess it. Not hidden away where only a few
Right,
people can see it.
transparent, out there, absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
But that was my interpretation.
Yes.
That wasn't what the words said.
Yes, and so if you look at the key, right, so it has two things. On column 3, it says, increase awareness about misconduct among the public through transparency, which is what Hakan said, right? This is number 3, a perfect answer. On number 2, it says, increase the awareness of the public about the process, nature, and limits of science, which is also a valid answer, because if you publish the scientific results, you increase the knowledge and awareness about science, right?
This is how Turnitin works, actually, the software.
What do you mean?
Because it is already published, and you can only chase plagiarism if this using software is an appropriate answer.
Mhm.
Then the way of doing it by making all publications available.
Ah, I see what
Okay,
you mean, yes.
it's a corroboratory to this. I mean, and logically
I see.
follows this. It cannot be one.
I see,
let's say.
I see.
Okay.
So, it's an answer that can be scored at 3, at 2. Jen, I put it at 1. Maybe we disagree with her, she's not here, I'm just repeating what she told me to say. So, but I made a note because I'll go back and actually argue the point with her. So let's go to question number 3. What does it say? You are a research professor, your chair is a leader in the field, he provides material for your research, and as you prepare a manuscript, he asks to be listed as an author. So what do you respond to this request? Okay. And the answer is, I would say yes, because they are the chair. And Eunice thinks this is question number 1. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's an unacceptable thing. Do you all agree? Yes?
The answer
Ah.
No,
Okay.
the answer according,
Moment.
according to the schedule is 1.
Yes, according to this.
Yes,
Yes.
but according to these 3.
Yes, most logically it's
Why?
We can
Because,
acknowledge.
yes, according to these 3.
yes.
If I take this as a baseline, yeah.
This
it
is what
1.
you take as your baseline, yes.
Yes.
Somebody gives you the answer that says, I would say yes, because he is my chair.
Yes. It
Okay.
is 1, but for me it is 3. It is not that way.
Why is it 3?
Because actually, and
Yes.
what we learned from you last year, authorship issues,
Yeah.
and we adopted,
Yeah?
the only way to acknowledge, to put him in acknowledgement.
Yes,
And to take action because
Yes.
he doesn't. So for me,
but he talks to be offered, not to be acknowledged.
Okay.
The chair comes to you and he says, I've been giving you
But he wants
research
to be an
material.
author, not
Yes.
be acknowledged.
no, I know. So according to this, yes, because his chair says this answer.
So, okay, so we
But
have.
for me, it is not acceptable.
Okay, so you think that this answer is what? If somebody gives you, if in this question somebody says yes,
For me, it's wrong.
Yes, so you
Why?
give it a 1.
what do you
Yes.
mean? But I don't understand when you say for me it is wrong, what is wrong? What this chair asks or what the question, the answer is?
What the answer is, the response to in that situation is
Yes.
the wrong one. So for me,
Yes,
if we take 1, meaning this,
yes,
saying that in that situation, if I say yes because he is the chair,
Yes.
in itself it's a wrong behavior. It's a wrong response to.
it's the wrong behavior or is it the wrong response to the question? These are two different things.
How would you respond to this question?
Yes. How would you respond to this question?
I would say no.
You would say no. Perfect. But that's you.
Yeah.
Leave yourself out of this. I'm not asking about your opinion.
Yeah.
You as the teacher
Yes.
have written this question, and you've given it to your students, to your whoever, and you get this response from one of the people in your class. How do you grade? I mean, what is this question? Where does it fall? Is it an acceptable question?
The question or the answer?
The answer. Sorry, the answer. Is it an acceptable answer?
No, for me it's not acceptable answer.
So it falls under 1. It's an
Yeah.
unacceptable answer.
Yes.
Exactly. And that's what we're all saying.
Okay.
But it has nothing to do with whether you
Yeah.
personally agree.
Hmm.
Not about that. It's about how it falls within the rubric you have created with
Okay.
all possible scenarios in response to your question.
Now it's
So, exactly. I mean, ideally, you would like people to say no.
Yeah.
Ideally, perfect. But
Ideally, you'd like people to say, sir, I will send you the manuscript for you to read and review and provide me feedback and give me the information that you think needs to go into the journal so you can qualify as an author.
yeah, Liz, who is a full professor, can say that.
Yeah.
The other people who are assistant professors and lecturers maybe cannot say all of this exactly.
But if someone wants to be an author and they've done a little bit of something, it's better to, and the paper is still in process, better to give them
Yes.
the opportunity to earn authorship than to say, you just gave me data, I'm not gonna
Not
make you wrong.
data,
Material. Because to include him, if he's given material, maybe he does have information. He can review the manuscript, he can edit it, revise it for content, and then he knows more about what you're doing. He may not want to do that.
And what do you do in this case?
And then you say, I'm sorry, sir,
Again,
bravely,
Liz, as the food
Bravely.
professor, can say that, I repeat.
I know, but if you're going to give somebody the wrong answer for something it's impossible for them to do, then they are between a rock and a hard place.
Yes. But it's a situation that many people face, as we
It
all know,
absolutely is.
right?
And Lee's answer falls under two. The
I know
option-
it falls under two. My answer is incorrect according to this rubric, but I
No,
disagree.
your answer is just not within the rubric.
Not within the rubric.
Doesn't mean it's wrong, it means that there is an answer that has not been part of the rubric. The rubric isn't complete. I mean, we have 8 million, how many billion people are on this earth? 7.
Too many?
Okay, so and how many answers do we have here? 5. Okay, there you have it. So we can in principle be putting new answers in the
Into the
rubric
rubric
every day
all
until
the
we all
time.
die, right? So that's, okay, fine,
Another answer, for example.
okay?
For me, I can put the matter because yes, I can say yes, because the matter is the leader in this topic.
Because he's the leader of this
Yeah,
topic.
Because first idea is part about this matter. For example, if he is in the same laboratory.
But you don't know any of this. The question says, your chair is a leader in a field related to yours, but not the same.
And you are a professor too.
And you're a research professor.
Yeah.
He provides material for your research. That's it. It doesn't say whether the idea was his. It doesn't say that you work in his lab. It doesn't say any of that information. All it says that he's a leader in one field, related, but not the same, and that he gives you material. That's all.
So let me just be the red herring here.
Yeah.
So let's assume that situation. It's a clinical medicine which is very common. The material could be the patient. What would you think? Okay.
Meaning taking material from a patient to,
No, the patient, is a subject, okay?
of a paper,
You may-
a case, a paper on a case.
Yeah.
Okay.
For instance, you may say that, okay, this particular patient could fit to your project, take it and include in your,
Okay.
in your data, okay? In that case, there might be an intellectual contribution because, he thinks that the project needs that kind of patient. And this is a material, but it's a material quite, in a sophisticated way. Or, in a pathologist saying that, okay, I have seen a pathologist specimen that fits to your project, which is quite, big contribution by virtue of the results of the project, then, you can use it. So this is also
I don't
something.
know how to
But-
answer that.
but
It's a
the
good
material,
question.
yeah,
I don't know
But the
how to answer.
material, if my lab has an instrument that this guy doesn't have, and I gave them as a material, then I'm not qualified, of course, to be a part of this.
Yeah, but you have a point about the
paper.
patient
Yeah.
and the
But
pathologist, yes.
I have difficulty with this, and I've argued with medical students in my institution.
About this particular
And
thing?
I think that if somebody simply hands over, says, these half dozen patients may be useful to work on, if it's maybe a single test or something like that, then fine. But if students are having to work up a lot of data, they've got to take a lot of different samples from the individual and do most of the groundwork to actually get something, then I think that the individual who identified the patient gets an acknowledgement that it's not an author. So
But-
it very
but
much
wait a
depends on the
minute.
contribution. So
But
just
what-
Depends on the
identify.
contribution. Depends on the contribution.
Absolutely.
So this kind of contribution, though, means that chair or knows the project intimately, your project, and is also in a position to evaluate a clinical picture that comes to him as a patient, to evaluate everything and say that this, which is much more, as Hakan says, I agree with him on that, than cell lines in the laboratory, for instance, or something, a protein in a vial, this can fit within what you're looking for.
Yes, because the clinician has integrated,
Yes,
you know, a lot of
exactly.
stuff to identify
That's right.
things. But for me, that's the same, you know, I edit and correct somebody's thesis, but I still don't expect to be an author on somebody's paper. I do that. So I make an intellectual contribution, but I think there's a limit beyond which you go.
You're right, you're right. And I think this is not a right-wrong issue there. You know, let me just, put this very, real example that we have discussed in the ethics committee, actually. So there was this project that, radiologists are doing the research, but they need patients. And patients are being, provided by, some clinicians in different clinics. And these are quite special patients, so that patients need to be identified appropriately to them to be sent to the radiologist. Okay, now the other issue, according to Turkish regulations, doctor, who is the primary physician of this doctor, is the responsible for the good care of the patient. So even though the result of the radiologist is being used in this patient, this is not the radiologist, but the physician, the primary physician, is responsible. So I have to list this person in the application form, because if he is not there, he or she, not there, I cannot accept it, because, out of the blue, someone cannot get this.
Okay, but does that mean that this primary care clinician gets to be an author on your paper?
Yeah, but, if they are in the application form as the researcher, then why don't you have him as an author when you write the paper? Then there's this dilemma.
Yeah, and I accept that, because I think in some of these instances, that clinician may have had to do quite a bit of work to identify this particular individual, assessing a whole range of particular tests, excluding different factors and so on. So quite a lot of intellectual effort in identifying someone. And then I think it's slightly different.
Yeah,
So it's very much about the sort of contribution.
Yeah, in
But
fact,
if it's just somebody on the ward saying, oh, take those ones there, and you haven't done anything, which is what some of the consultants do in my medical school,
But
and they expect to be authors, and I have a problem with that.
Yeah, and also the results of the pathology, for instance, is a confirmatory thing.
Yeah.
Just the technician work, and the pathologist should not be listed as an author in that case, also in many other studies.
As a laboratory practitioner, I also have problems with that really too, because I think sometimes, if a pathologist is identifying something and typing something using particular stains and making, and providing you with a judgment, you don't get your paper unless the pathologist comes up with, something you can use. So as the back room person, I'm sort of not bending